So right now you can't really network, but you can do this. And here's the cool thing, that even when you do go networking, even when the world is normal, which it's not anymore, and you can go networking and meet people face to face, it's not usually the most effective way to attract qualified prospects, because where you end up going doesn't necessarily have your ideal prospects anyway. But I want to tell you a way that you can actually up-level your network, where you can actually get in front of the best potential clients, best potential prospects, and instead of networking, you can actually up-level your network in a way where now you have access to much more successful people, which will give you much more, or better access, I should say, to people who would be more ideal clients. Now, let me tell you a little story. Back in, it was the end of 2013, and I was a financial advisor. Some of you, might know that I was a financial advisor for a decade, so I was still a financial advisor, but I was also doing some other things, some money coaching, and I had something called money parenting. And money parenting is something I created back when I was doing financial planning, and then I realized that a lot of the parents I was helping who had young kids, what was really motivating them was more of how do I improve my own habits to be a better influence on my kids. Now, that they didn't actually realize that, but they wanted to raise financially responsible kids. And what money parenting really was to teach them how to do that. Okay, but at that time, that was kind of my expertise, helping parents specifically, and helping them with their beliefs and behaviors around money so they could better influence their children and obviously create the financial future that they wanted. So at the time, I was thinking I was going to write a book, and this book was going to be about money parenting. It was going to be amazing. And I had seen this TED Talk with this woman named Mel Robbins. Have you heard of Mel Robbins? If you haven't, you should totally check her out. She's amazing. She is, I think, the #1 booked speaker, female speaker in the United States. I don't think it's the world, but it could be the world. But in the United States for sure. She's been on CNN, HLN. She's been on a ton of different media channels, have a ton of different appearances. I mean, she's amazing. Anyway, check her out. She also has a TED Talk now that's hit like 23 million views, I think, something like that last time I checked. Well, at the time, in the late 2013, I saw her TED Talk, and it had 5 million views at the time. And I was like, this woman is awesome. Like, I would love to interview this woman, but like, who am I? I was nobody. But I was writing this book, or I was considering writing this book about money parenting, so I actually reached out to her on Facebook, no less, like a message, okay? I actually sent her a message with these fingers like this. I sent a message asking her if I can interview her for my book, and guess what? She had 5 million views on TED Talk, and she said yes. She said yes. I couldn't even believe it, and so then I was freaking out. But I had this interview. It's actually still, if you search for Robin Crane interview with Mel Robbins or something, I don't know, you'll find it. But I interviewed Mel Robbins, and we just did it on Skype. It's kind of old school because it doesn't like do what Zoom does with switching the image back and forth. But regardless, I interviewed her, and from that came all these other things. It's not the most amazing interview. In fact, you can see how bad I was at it back then and how much I really didn't know what I was talking about. No, I did. I was good at money parenting, doing that, and that was my expertise. But basically, like, that interview led me to all these different things. Now, at the time, I wasn't even sure how to do it. I wasn't even being intentional about it. I just was like, okay, I'm going to interview this woman. At the end, because I thought she was cool. I thought she was amazing, right? At the end, she was like, wow, Robin, you're really good at this. I should connect you with my media team. So she introduced me to her media team, okay? And I ended up taking a huge leap of faith. I had made that year, what was that, 2013? I don't know how much I made, but I don't think I'd hit six figures. Maybe I did, but barely. But I remember I was really didn't have the money. I was very broke, but I ended up hiring this media team anyway. It was a huge stretch for me. And I hired this media team, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this because I want to impact more people, and I want to make a big difference in this world. And so I ended up working with this media team. Within a few months, I was actually on the Grant Cardone network. I had a show called The Financial G-Spot, which was kind of silly. And then Grant Cardone, I was on his network, and he asked to interview me. So my husband and I, we both flew down to Miami. At the time, we were in New Jersey. He interviewed us on his Power Players. We both had a little episode on Power Players. And Grant Cardone, if you don't know him, look him up. Like, he's huge. I think I looked his net worth up the other day. I think it's like 300 million, okay? And he's written many best-selling books that are New York Times bestsellers. Like, he's phenomenal. And we got to hang out with him. We got to be interviewed by him. And that happened because I interviewed Mel Robbins, and because Mel Robbins gave me a connection, and that connection turned into something else. And there's so many other things that happened. I was also on Creative Live. There's a ton of things that ended up moving me into like really upscaling my business, upscaling my positioning, really getting more known as well because of this decision I made after interviewing Mel Robbins. So not only that, but my book, my latest book, Make More Money, Help More People, is actually the foreword in that book was written by Mel Robbins, because now I have this connection. If I want to ask her to do something, she's usually really cool about it. She's busy as all hell. She's had a talk show, like all these things. Like she's really busy, really, really successful, but she's still helping me because we now have that connection. So why am I telling you all this? Because you've probably been doing what most people do in the industry. It's like they go networking, and right now networking is not an option. So you need a way, and even if it was, I would tell you stop doing that and do this instead. You need a way to get to higher level people, higher caliber people, right? People that have more assets, hopefully, so you can obviously grow your business, but also so you can help them in a more transformational way. Okay, so my guess is that if you're like the most financial advisors that come to me, your biggest problem is, how do I attract qualified prospects? How do I get in front of the right people? And so using the strategy about the book, about going after people, going to target people who are really successful and asking them if you can interview them, it's actually a really good positioning, because you're saying, hey, I'm considering writing a book, and can I interview you? And maybe they're a nurse, or maybe they're I don't know, someone like Mel, who's really influential, or maybe they're a business owner. Whomever you want to target, you can find them on LinkedIn. You can find them, you can message them, you can find them on the World Wide Web. You can find them, and you can message them, and you can hide behind your computer instead of having to do cold calls or something. This is a cold outreach to people you don't know that are super high level, and now you interview them, and guess what? The interviewers are the experts. Oprah, Ellen, Katie Couric, Larry King, what's his name? Jimmy Fallon. Like, the people who are famous and well known and who are very, very successful are often the interviewers, not the one being interviewed. Both are usually successful, but the one even more successful is the interviewer. You have instant credibility by being someone who interviews and asks questions, and then you can ask questions about their challenges and what they want, and you can get to a point where you might be able to convert them to a prospect, and you might or you might be able to get more introductions from them. And I've had my clients do this, and now we're going through this whole book interview challenge, and my clients are doing this right and left, and they're getting amazing results. Like, they had no appointments on their calendar. They came to me during this crazy time, yes, now, when everyone's at home on lockdown, and they're like, how do I get in front of new qualified people? Because if they're getting in front of anyone, they're not typically qualified, and they're not getting as many referrals as before. And so I'm giving them this strategy. They're using this strategy, and they're like, oh my gosh, I had 8 interviews this week. I had 4 interviews this week. I have 2 scheduled tomorrow. 2 out of 2 turned into a prospecting meeting. Okay, this is insane. It's such an awesome little hack that works incredibly well. So I'm telling you, do not give up on the fact that, oh, I'm home, now I can't grow my business. Please don't even tell me that, I will die. Okay, I want you to know that this is a bigger opportunity than ever, because people are thinking about money. They're thinking about needing help. They're thinking that there's so much uncertainty that they better make sure that they're taken care of financially, and they're scared. Okay, which means you gotta be the risk taker, the one to go out there, put yourself out there and ask, hey, for an interview. It's no big deal, and your position's super high. And then you can have conversations with higher level people, and those people will introduce you to people. Obviously, you need the strategies to do that. You need to know how to ask and all these things. But even just starting this and putting yourself out there will help. So hope that was helpful for you today. Little story about Mel Robbins, but put this into action. Do some interviews, get in front of some new qualified people, and watch your calendar start to fill up.